back, DNA Strand crew, to the newest episode of the Dynasty DNA Deep Dive here on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. I'm your host, TJ Blake. You can follow me over on Twitter at FFTJBlakeDNA. And we're joined by the guy that, from what I understand after last Monday night, is proclaiming himself JJ McCarthy's long-lost uncle there in Indiana. We know JJ's around that Bears territory, so there could be some truth to this. It's our friend, Big Bob Helfert. You can follow him over on Twitter at Big E Fat Bob. Bob, your guy, I'm sure you were glowing there Monday night. I'm sure you were glowing. Slim took a little bit of a victory lap a little bit early. I'll let you get into some of that. I'll let you have a little bit of a victory lap of your own.
Well, I literally had a snapshot, like, you do it on your phone or whatever, and it was like the picture of JJ looking like he was looking for a brick wall to run through. And then at the end of the game, when I'm seeing, the little princess, Caleb Williams, taking his helmet off with his fingernails all painted and everything, I'm like, yep, that's the difference. One guy's a dog and one guy's a princess, and whatever. Good luck.
So we knew Bob was happy about that, but we're also joined by the athlete named Sliminator, Dynasty DNA's own real Slim Shady, Noah Hutchinson. Slim, you can follow him over on Twitter at the 12th Man Fantasy 1. Slim, let me ask you this. I know it was a little bit of a rough week for you. The Seahawks lost. Some of these things happen, threw you for a loop. But I will say this. We put together one heck of a touchdown wide receiver parlay on the Dynasty DNA morning show, and I know Wiz cashed on that. I mean, that was a positive. So was there anything outside of that really upped your spirits this past week?
Yeah, so I did cash that too. I put some money in on that, and then I ended up hitting. I was 4 out of 6 on a parlay, and I think I posted it in our group chat, and I had Seattle and the Bears left, and I actually hedged some money taking the 49ers to win. So I did cash out some money on that as well. So all in all, I made some money on that, and I lived it up in our chat for 3.5 quarters until the Bears decided they were going to turn back into the Bears and do Bear things. So, but I lived it up for 3 quarters. That was a lot of fun, and it was week 1. I'm not going to panic too much. I'm just going to throw out there that Kyle Pitts is a top 10 tight end right now, so I will throw that out there. That's
the mice of the Midway.
Don't worry, we will be getting into some Bears talk. I'm absolutely sure of that, as some other teams. But we got a great episode lined up for you guys here today. We're going to be previewing week 2, but we're going to kind of revisit some of these things from week 1 going into week 2, right? Like, does these trends continue? Do some of these things continue? Like, there's a lot of good things to discuss with you guys as far as a dynasty output. We really need to get ahead of this stuff from a fantasy football setting, and that's what we're going to do here today. So let's just open it up right now. Big news coming out of San Francisco this morning. Brock Purdy expected to miss 2 to 5 weeks with the turf toe injury. Just when you didn't think it could get any worse for San Francisco, here we go again. We heard that news about Christian McCaffrey's calf right before, the week 1 games on Saturday night, but he still played, was still available, played well on top of that. But, you just keep hearing these terrible things from an injury perspective. So I'm going to turn it over here to you, Bob, because I know your friend Ricky Pearsall had a really nice, solid game as well. Let me just ask you, though, no Brock Purdy. It's looking like 2 to 5 weeks is what they're saying. How do you think this affects this offense, and are you concerned? I know you have a lot of Pearsall shares. If you have CMC, we know Kittle's out. So, how concerned are you having shares in this 49ers offense with this?
Well,
injury?
it's not, it doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies, right? But, we've seen what Mac Jones can do in the NFL, and Shanahan's got a system, and Shanahan wanted this guy. That was my, closet, prediction in the offseason that we, maybe Shanahan really wanted to get Mac Jones. Now, he obviously really isn't going to give Brock Purdy a turf toe injury or whatever the toe injury is, but I could see this being okay. I mean, the elixir week 2 is probably New Orleans, right? I mean, if they're playing New Orleans, like yeah, like they should be able to throw you out there, TJ. Maybe they should have, but whatever. So it's like, you know, we and Pearsall looks fine. I'm the losing Kittle is probably a bigger detriment because if the defense is going to be able to focus on just McCaffrey and Pearsall, we might have some issue there. But again, they play New Orleans the first week. If they can get anybody back or any kind of just secondary option, I think Pearsall should do okay. I'm not, it's not something that I'm like, if I'm desperate and I need Pearsall, it's not going to crush me. I don't think. You should expect 10% less, probably, if not 15% less, right? But hopefully, you're not counting on the guy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just it. I mean, like you're worried about one thing, right? I mean, like I do think that the coach, Kyle Shanahan, there, I think that that's big. I mean, we kind of seen them in these situations before from an injury standpoint. And look, I mean, I do like Brock Purdy, but you said it yourself. He's kind of that system guy. He fits the system, and ain't like he's Superman, right? So. I mean, look, I mean, Mac Jones is the backup, I believe. So, I mean, that's who's probably going to be going for the 49ers if Pearsall or if Purdy is going to miss his time. Slim, I'm going to ask you because you know this NFC West division very well. I mean, right now I know what Bob's saying. He don't have a warm, fuzzy feeling about it, but still thinks that they can function and thrive a little bit. How do you feel about this? No Purdy for the 49ers. Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be rough. I've heard anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. I know Kittle's going to the IR, so that's 4 weeks. So if you just estimate that it's 4 weeks for both of them, then we're not looking at them coming back until October 12th versus the Buccaneers in Week 6 would be my estimated. Because I don't know if you want to rush them back on a Thursday night game, and that'll be Week 5 Thursday night, October 2nd. So I really think it would be October 12th, and I think it hurts. Yeah, they probably get an easy win against the Saints, but then they play the Cardinals, Jags, and Rams. I could see them dropping that game to the Cardinals and the game on Thursday night to the Rams. So in a tough NFC West division, I do think it hurts a lot, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on Pearsall to really make the plays, especially because we know Brandon Ayuk's probably not coming back until I think it was mid-season, like week 7 or 8 even for him. So this 49ers, they can't get much more injuries. Like they can't have many more injuries on that offense, or they're not going to have anybody else.
What's the timeline for Jennings?
Yeah,
I'm
let me say
sorry.
this:
What's the
tough.
timeline for Jennings? Does anybody know? I don't off the top of my head.
We'll let Slim. We'll let Slim look that up. But let me just say this while Slim is looking that up. And that's a good point, Bob. But let me just say this. Like, looking at the 49ers schedule, though, it could be a lot worse. Like, I think these games are winnable. And I know Bob agrees with me there. I mean, the Cardinals is a division a foe, so we know how that could be. It could be a little bit back and forth for sure. I'm not going to sit there and say it's automatic. But, the Jaguars, that really helps the Saints. And the Rams, I mean, yeah, they could very well drop that game to the Rams. But if they could keep their head above water, that's good because like that's another thing, if you have some of these assets, watch what the 49ers are doing early in this stretch here, right? They got to keep their head above water, and if they do keep their head above water, I'll be really happy about that, and I think it will really help. But Slim, did you find out anything
Yeah, it
on
says the
Jennings?
MRI came back clear. He's labeled as day to day as the team prepares for Week 2, so it looks like he avoided serious injury.
I mean, you don't want to lose 2
Okay,
games in
so
division, but if the only 2 you did lose was the Cardinals and Rams games, if you split that 4 games 2-2, that the rest of their schedule, they got like one of the best schedules in the NFL as far as it goes. So it shouldn't be too bad.
yeah, keep your head above water, right? That's all I'm saying is like keep your head above water if you're the 49ers, and we'll see what goes. And I do think that they're going to be able to do that just based off their coach, based off of the fact that he makes players better than they are, right? So, like, if Mac Jones is the guy getting the nod here, like, I have confidence. I mean, there were times in Jacksonville he made Brian Thomas relevant, and you still got Kyle Shanahan. So that's a big thing going for the 49ers. But, let's go over to this next game here. And I really want to jump into this one and talk to you guys and get your opinions on it overall. the rookie running back battle, I like to call it, with the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday night coming. Very disappointing performance across the board between Amari Hampton and Ashton Jenney. I know Bob can't wait to dive into this. Look, I will say this, and I'm not a. You guys know I'm not a big Amari Hampton fan. Do you guys know that? I mean, I've preached that enough. I mean, has that message gotten through that I'm not a big fan? But look, I am going to defend him here for a minute, right? I'm not going to push the kid under the bus, right? This was a tough matchup week 1 going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think that really helped in any form or fashion. And, the throwing, Justin Herbert was working for the Chargers. Why not? I love that about Jim Harbaugh. If it's working, don't go away from it. Just continue on doing what you're doing. It was working. Herbert had the confidence. Keep building the confidence. I like that. I think there are going to be better days for Martin Hampton. I said it. I don't think he's a total bust. I just think he was getting picked too high in rookie drafts. But some of the things that I didn't like reared its ugly head on the film, and Bob can agree with this. We talk about it all the time. In the ACC, it's a lot easier to run over linebackers than it is in the NFL, right? That's just the point. And he's not extra special in the athleticism department. I just think he's going to be a running back 2, guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's going to be a running back 2, and that's good. That's great. That's grand. And as far as Jenney goes, Bob talked about this as well. The Las Vegas Raiders rearing their ugly head with their run blocking and offensive line overall. I think that was the biggest problem there. So, Bob, I'm going to turn this over here to you. Look, do you expect a bounce back from any of these two in week 2 here in this game going on Monday night? What's your feelings on these rookie running backs? Because let's be honest, if you picked them in the top 5, you're disappointed. Everyone expects the savior, and it just didn't happen. But I'll turn the floor over to you. Let's talk about Amari Hampton and Ashton Jenney ahead of
I
week
think
2.
if there's any one of those two that might have a blow-up game, I think it's going to be Hampton. And the main reason is because I think that the Oakland Raiders' run defense isn't that good. Say what you will. Ramondre Stevenson even had yards against them. Seriously, we can expect that. Genty's running into it's a better run defense in Los Angeles. We didn't, and I think that maybe it was the game plan to keep Amari and Hampton kind of, I don't want to say out of the game plan because obviously, but when you're the strength of Kansas City is their defensive line, really. Obviously not. The strength of their defense is the defensive line. So don't hear what I'm not saying. It's obviously Patrick Mahomes and stupidity, but you get my point. It's there. So they may have game planned around the idea of look, they probably assume we're going to try and run this kid down their throat because we drafted him in the first round. And it's just a chess match at that point. But Herbert looked awesome, and the kid caught his 2 targets and had 61 yards. And yeah, he wasn't super efficient, but I don't think that they needed him to be. I think they just wanted a little bit of grind in there at the end. Genty still scares me. I know Slim is an absolute truther of the guy, but Mountain West and NFL are light years apart. They're as far as TJ is from Wiz. So,
That is a good agree with you. That is another issue. When we talk about this small school stuff, it takes time to develop. And again, like I said, not chopping down Hampton, but I just expect him to be a running back 2 in this league. I just think he was getting overdrafted, but I think he's going to have good games. And if he had a good game this week, as Bob said, against the Vegas run defense, I wouldn't be surprised, right? I just think it's going to be a lot of hit or miss. When you see the tougher matchups, I think it's going to be a lot tougher. But he's just not super special to me. And I think special running backs do this against good defenses. We've seen Ty talk about this on the From Whistle to Whistle show. When you have a really, really talented rookie running back, you see it, right? You see flashes. Because it's the easiest position to learn as far as the skill position goes. They just come right in, plug and play, plug and play. Not as much responsibility there as a tight end or a wide receiver. So, I think that just temper your expectations a little bit. And I will say this, don't just sell to sell, because there's so many people I could see this week if Hampton, Jenney have a bad game, people just really panic and ready to jump overboard, and you can't overreact either. This still is rookie talent out on the field, and it's going to take time for them to get acclimated. So I will say, don't sit there and jump overboard and just give them away. And I hate that. I just hate underselling people, and when people panic, you can't do that. You're going to have to take the good with the bad sometimes. Slim, hopping back over here to you. Bob spoke his piece. He thinks Hampton could potentially have a better game this week, and I agree with him. I expect it to be better. And if it isn't better, then maybe we can start really talking next week. But, you're sitting there talking about Ashton Jenny, Slim. You love this guy. You were pounding the table for him. You were sitting there in the hot take segment saying he's going to be in that top 5 range. And Bob's brought up the questions about the offensive line. Does this worry you, the fact that this matchup was really tasty going up against the Patriots in week 1, and we really didn't see it? And now you get a tougher run defense and the Chargers. What's your expectations this week for Genty and Hampton?
I mean, I'm not sure it concerns me a whole lot. I mean, he's listed in one of our leads. I just clicked on one that I know I had him in. He's RB24. He got 40 yards. But Bob was sitting there, what I want to turn the attention to was Bob was saying something about how well or how bad the Raiders' run defense was, right? But then in that game, Travion Henderson cleared what? He cleared 5 carries for 27 yards. And he brought up Stevenson, right? And it's funny because I have Stevenson in everywhere. So I know that Stevenson had 7 carries for 15 yards. So New England's running backs combined for under 50 yards rushing as well.
Well, they played from behind too. So yeah, you're right. I mean, that's sure.
They weren't never super far behind though. It was always a 1 or 2 score game. It's not like they abandoned the run.
5 yards a carry, man, from Travion Henderson sounds pretty awesome.
Then why not run the ball more?
You think he would have been on the field more?
He caught a lot of balls though, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that helped his. Yeah, that helped his fantasy. He had like 6
which Genty didn't do. That's kind of weird too, right? Is it just me? But Genty only had 2 catches, and he only got targeted twice. Like I thought this guy was the end all be all every down back, and
I mean, Bob, you're once again. So you're saying New England's playing from behind, and then you want the Raiders to go out there and throw the ball to Genty. They're not going to throw the ball if they're up. So I once again,
they didn't run the ball very well either.
Well, they won the game, right? So there we go.
This is true. They won the game.
I'm off track. I do think Amari and Hampton can have a better game. I really do. I do think, as much as I love, everything, I do think he can have a better game. I'm not sure he's breaking off for, 100 plus and whatever it is, and something crazy. But yeah, I do agree with you, TJ, that I think he's an RB2 in the league. I just think Genty's so talented that it just takes that one special play from him, And yeah, he didn't get it in week 1, but I'm sitting here looking at all the rookie running backs that came out. Genty had an underwhelming game. Amari and Hampton had an underwhelming game. RJ Harvey, yeah, he broke off a decent run for a touchdown, but it wasn't a great week. All of these rookie running backs that were supposed to be phenomenal, like there was somebody that I had seen somewhere on a fantasy show. They said that this was like one of the best running back classes coming out, and with everybody landing where they landed, that we could see on the verge of 4 top 12 rookie running backs, and I was like, whoa, okay, and I got looking at it, I'm like, well, maybe if Dobbins gets hurt, Harvey has a clear path, and I don't like Najee, so Hampton could have a clear path, and I mean, Judkins didn't even play, so yeah, I mean, I see it where, these guys are going to be okay. It was week 1. I think week 1 in the NFL is weird anyway. I think they're both going to be okay. But, I mean, I still think Genty is the way better back. So, that's just my piece to it.
Okay, so, yeah, I agree with what you said, Slim. I mean, I do expect a bounce back a little bit from Hampton, I mean, just based off matchup, right? But, I mean, as far as Genty goes, it could still be tough sledding. And, and it's not all his fault, as Bob said, because he brought up the offensive line a million times. This is still an issue, right? And I know Bob's sitting there I will say this. I will come to Bob's defense. If Jenny was on a team like the Minnesota Vikings, Bob would be really happy. I mean, it's not just that he hates Jenny, Slim. He doesn't trust the Raiders, and he doesn't trust that offensive line. And I think
I'm 5.5 wins from money at this point. So, over 6.5 is looking real good. I'm 5.5 away now.
It's a double thing, right? Like if you fall into a better place with less experience, like I just don't think Genty's got it's not that he's not talented. I mean, that's uber obvious, right? I mean, you could see it, but he's doing it against crumb bums and shoe clerks, not, not the elite NFL players. It's seriously like, come on, like.
I love it. I love it. That's going to be, Bob, I just love what you're saying. I'm going to use that now on the morning show. Crumb bums. I'm going to use that. I love that. Thank you for that. So if you hear me say it, I'll be like this. I didn't plagiarize it. I asked Bob first if I could take it and use it. So I love that call out. But let's go over to the next thing I want to talk about here. And we're going to stick more into the rookie theme of things here. We got to talk about Cam Ward, right? Because I said it. I think we all said it on this show. Like, we like the kid's upside. We like the kid's ability. I mean, between rushing and throwing the football, a lot of high-end upside there. Not knocking him, but quarterback 32 after week one and a tough performance against the Denver Broncos defense. Did not look good. 112 yards passing, no TDs, no interceptions, no yards on the ground. Big surprise to me, right? Like, I didn't like not seeing that. I want to see yards on the ground from him, especially like young quarterback. I think that's just, I mean, you don't want to get him in the habit of doing it all the times, but it's like, if it ain't there, let him take it down and run. Now, he gets another tough matchup this week coming up against the Los Angeles Rams, who really made C.J. Stroud look below average. Bob, I want to know right now, I mean, I know that me, you, and Slim, we all were on the same page. Like, we don't hate the kid. It's just a very, very tough team and situation to fall into with the Tennessee Titans. But are you worried now coming into week two? Because that was about as low as you could go against Denver. And now you got the Rams coming in. And, I mean, that's a little bit of a tough start for a kid like Cam Ward. What's your feelings on him heading into week two after week one?
Well, I'm super excited that I don't have to start Cam Ward anywhere. I mean, not that I, again, love the kid. It's the Tennessee Titans. And I mean, like, you're right. I was kind of like, man, he's got to be able to scramble. And I watched the game, rewatched the game today. Now I watched it on 1.5 speed, and like at a certain point, it kind of like, this is just monotonous. Like, this is ridiculous. Benito was in the backfield all the time. Allen and Cooper are in the backfield all the time. It is Allen, and I can't remember what his first name. Zach Allen, yeah. So they were in Ward's lap like most of the game, and it's like, seriously, like, their offensive line's not ready for a quarterback. This happens all the time. I could wax poetic about it, but like, there's no sense in even going into it. He didn't have a lot of time to make passes, and the offensive line's kind of junk, and he was getting a lot of pressure. I would have liked to have seen him scramble, but a lot of times, even when it looked like he was scrambling, there was somebody right behind the guy that he was getting around. So
let me ask you this last question, Bob, before I turn it over to Slim, and we got a fan question here in the chat. But let me just ask you this before we turn it over. If you could, I mean, if it's this bad, let's say it's this bad for pretty much the majority of the season, are you going to try to buy low, or do you still believe? Are you that worried about Tennessee you're just going to stay away?
Depends on what the buy low is, right? I mean, if we're talking about a 12-team super flex in 26, and we know how I feel about my unchained 26 first that sit on the porch that was hilarious that, Slim talked about last week, and just let the Amazon driver steal them, whatever. It was pretty funny. But, yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind to part with the 26 first or whatever for Cam Ward at the, toward the end of the year, if that's the case. Cause I'm hearing all kinds of negative come from the 26 class. And it sounds like most of the guys we were thinking were going to come out in 26 are going to get pushed back to 27, and it's going to be hyper loaded. So, and they still got to develop too. So I like Ward quite a bit. I don't like the Tennessee situation, but man, give them a year. Hopefully they put everything together. Yeah, they just need a better offensive line and probably some weapons. And yeah.
Okay, so it's nice to know, Bob, but you're still allowing Porch Pirates to come in and take those 2026 first. I just wanted to clarify.
If I have any, I'll buy Cam Ward.
He's welcoming. He's welcoming Porch Pirates for his 2026 draft capital. But let me say this, got a quick question from Frizzy here in the chat. Who do you like more for the rest of the season? I believe, Jawan Johnson or Brenton Strange from a tight end perspective. Bob, I'll turn that over to you real quick. No, go
I,
Slim.
I almost have to say Jawan based on the fact that he's got to get more targets than Strange, right? I think if Hunter makes any kind of progress, Brian Thomas is going to get more targets. It seems like they really want to run the ball with ATN, and we got Turd Bigsby out of the way. It's you're just absolutely Strange has got to be 4 to 5 on the pecking order, and Juwan might end up being their number one target because it doesn't look like they can get the ball to Olave or Shaheed very often or well. So, yeah, I mean, Juwan Johnson seems to be open. And apparently he was a former wide receiver or whatever in college. So it was, he finds himself open because he's more capable of beating the linebackers that are covering him.
Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to you. Do you agree with Bob? You're going to go with Jawan Johnson here over Brenton Strange before we talk about Cam Ward
Yeah,
with you?
I am. Just everything that Bob pretty much brought up. Yeah, he was a former wide receiver. I do believe that is true. And then, Shaheed's all right. And then, Chris Blue Medical Tent Olave was back in the Blue Medical Tent in week 1. And, I hate to see it as an Ohio State receiver. And we know how much I love Ohio State guys. But, even in week 1, even though he came back, he took a trip to the medical tent, and every time you see him go in there, you hold your breath because you never know how bad it is. Even if those two guys stay healthy all year, I still think Jawan is option 3, where Strange is probably option 4 or 5 at least.
4 or 5?
And I say option 3 because I still think that I would probably take Jawan over one of the 2 receivers then as well, because Kamara's got to be option 1 in that offense, in my opinion. But yeah, I still think Jawan has a higher ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely. And where did he go to school? The Penn State University. That one's for Slim right there, Jawan Johnson. So, yes, I do agree. Bob is right. Kind of more of that receiving type background in Jawan Johnson. And look, here's the difference, right? I think you guys nailed it as far as, you got one guy that's maybe the 4th, 5th option, a guy that's kind of 1 or 2 in his offense right now, right? Like, the thing is, he's going to be more available for pass catching, which will help PPR. I think when you're playing Strange, you're just banking on a touchdown weekly. Like, that is what you're hoping for. If you don't get it, you're at the bottom of the barrel. With Johnson, he could bail you out and potentially still get you 10-ish points based off of just catchability. So just wanted to bring that up. Now, no problem, Frizzy. Glad to help, man. Yeah, having Fannon's really awesome. You know how I always felt about Harold Fannin, talking about it in the offseason. Love that guy. And I do think there's room to grow there, but I would rather have Johnson in case of emergency break glass type of guy to have. Rotate those 2 and out if you're kind of streaming tight ends. I like that. But Slim, coming back to you on the Cam Ward talk, Bob said, look, not blaming the kid. As I said in the opening, this is a very tough situation, but that is about as bad of a debut as you could have wanted. As far as we expected it to be bad, but that is about as low as you could go, right? And what we said, this is a tough Denver defense. Now he gets a tough defense in the Rams. What's your thoughts about his outlook for the rest of the season? And do you agree with Bob? Like, if it is this bad, are you still trying to dangle 2026 capital and trying to get in on Cam Ward for 2026 the season? What do you think?
Yeah, probably. If I was looking to buy in a super flex league, I'd probably take a shot at it because I do like Cam Ward. It's just the team around him. It's definitely not a win now move by any means. Yeah, he looked real rough in that Denver game, and like we said it all week, Denver's defense is really tough, and that'll be one of the games that I hope we highlight going forward. Is the disrespect that Denver's getting this week against Indianapolis, which is just, I've already talked about it in the Discord. I'm not going to go more into it until TJ brings it up, but let me tell you, Denver, man, they're a real team, and we'll have fun with that one, I'm sure. But yeah, I'll buy Cam Ward for a 26 first if anybody's shopping him for that. But I don't think anybody that drafted him is going to sell him after this year because they know what they drafted with him going to Tennessee. That it was a project type for nobody expected Tennessee to do real well this year. Tennessee needs more pieces yet. So I think anybody that has him is gonna ask for more value than what he's worth at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I think that you guys are right on the money with this. And let me just say this. I'm not going to say anything different because I'm kind of on the same page with you guys. I still believe in the kid. Like, I like him a lot, not just from a NFL perspective, but I like Cam Ward. I hope it works out for him. You couldn't ask for a worse situation to fall into, maybe for a rookie quarterback. But let me ask you this, Slim, okay? Because maybe you are a contending team and you were able to draft Cam Ward and you're sitting there and it was really disappointing. You need the points. And I'm really going to press you and Bob on this one because I want to see where your loyalties lie. Would you, as a contender, entertain trading Cam Ward for Justin Fields right now, in your opinion?
100%
Where are you
yes.
at on that?
Easily. Didn't even have to think about it.
Okay. No hesitation. So Slim's going to make that move, even if this could be it. Let's say maybe like it's really bad for the Jets, and I don't think it'll get that bad, but let's say it hits rock bottom. You're still willing to take that risk.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just, I know we say not to overreact with week 1, but let me tell you, Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, I'm on the hype train. I love it. Yeah, it was still a loss even for the Jets, but I think they looked really good. And I mean, I don't think this is Justin Fields last year either. I still think he goes into next year having the job too. So and being a contender, needing the points now, I think Justin Fields gives me that opportunity to get the points now.
Okay, Big Bob, how do you feel about
Ironically, this is one of the things that Slim and I are like nearly 100% in agreement on. Like, I love Fields. I think he's he's not a great quarterback because he's a good athlete. And like, I did some stuff today while I was just kind of sitting around here. Like, we do realize that 10% of the league is like quarterbacks have been on multiple teams, right? And then we've got 8 of them that have been on 3 or more teams. It's going to happen. And, Fields is one of those guys. But a lot of them cycle through these garbage teams like the Browns, the Bears, the Panthers. So the Jets, all these guys, I mean, they get drafted by bad teams. They got to sit there and look terrible because the team's bad around them. And then they get another opportunity. I mean, it's going to happen. And I do believe Fields has got a couple of years at least with this team. And if I could see him re-signing him, I think Daniel Jones can get re-signed in Indianapolis. It's crazy as it sounds. I mean, and Slim's not wrong. It is a barf move, but I mean, seriously, like there's not enough QBs coming into the league that we can count on. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I mean, the defenses are ruling the day right now in NCAA, and the quarterbacks are starting to look like hot garbage.
Okay, so let me just say this. I watched that game, and when you can run the ball for 9 yards a carry, like Breece Hall was doing against the Steelers, that does help open everything else up. Now, I'm not knocking what Justin Fields did. I mean, you got to take advantage of your opportunities, and he did that, right? But all I'm saying is I still expect there to be a bit of a roller coaster this season with him. I don't think it's going to be picking cherries because when they come up against a team that is actually prepared, unlike what we are, and you come up against a team that has a defense that isn't overly priced and old, you could run into some trouble here. So that's all I'm saying. But like, let me say this. I do agree with Bob as far as the fact that I think there's probably an 80 to 75% chance he's back next year. But I think that clock's going to strike midnight no matter what at some point. So all I will say is be careful because I said it on a couple of the other shows. I mean, I do not blame Justin Fields one bit for losing that game. And I guarantee you, probably 85% of the Jets fans don't blame him for losing that game. But if they keep losing and they keep losing, then it's going to be pointed at him because that's the New York media. That's how the NFL fandom is. You get the coach and the quarterback. That's always the two that always gets the finger first. So I'm just saying you got to be careful. But as far as the contention structure, it makes sense. I mean, if you need the points, you want to win, but I want to make sure I have a good roster before I make that move. It's got to be a really good, sound roster, right? And I am worried a little bit about Tennessee with Cam Ward these next couple of years because, as Bob says, they have a way of screwing it up. I mean, they can't figure it out. So that is a little bit of an issue there. So let's hop over to the next struggling quarterback here. Bob, I'm going to start with you here. CJ Stroud. Okay, we talked about this in the Dynasty DNA morning show. I went for the heat and I took CJ Stroud anytime interception, and then that paid off, right? Like, I just feel, and we've talked about it a million times in the offseason, everything that we were concerned about, everything that was on our mind, unfortunately, in this week one game come to fruition. Now, I'm not one to over panic after 1 week, and I know you're not either, Bob, and I know you're not, Slim, but some of these things are just facts, and I think that you can't escape it. Like, this offensive line is terrible. I mean, terribly bad. There's no running game really there that's anything to speak of. The weapon cupboard, I do like Jaden Higgins. Don't ever hear what I'm not saying. I like him, but it's going to take time. And you have Nico Collins, and then you have, Christian Kirk, who was a veteran guy that maybe they could have got out there. He went down, and he's injured for week one. So it's just like a never-ending train pileup for the Houston Texans. Like, it's like one car after another, like train cars getting piled up and just catching on fire at this point. So, Bob, if you have CJ Stroud, I mean, do you think that we could really see the bottom fall out this year? And if you do have him, I know Ty's kind of on the opinion of he's starting to be more out at this point. Are you kind of headed that way, or are you going to be a little more patient?
CJ Stroud, the player, is still a good player. I think that's exactly what Ty said, in all honesty. He's a good player, but the situation that he's in is abysmal. The offensive line is just hot dog water, right? It's nasty. It's not worth anything. They have no running game to take any of the pressure off. And you're right. I mean, I don't want to say I'm like, I just wax poetic about about Justin Fields. Like, I can't hardly think that CJ Stroud isn't going to get another opportunity, even if it flounders with this team. But they got to do something about the offensive line. It's not anything that I'd be super excited about putting in a starting lineup this year if I'm contending. You know what I mean? If I'm a rebuilding team, it's the same thing with like Ward. If I could get him for cheap, maybe I'll go ahead and grab him. But the kid's actually obviously talented. He just has to have protection. He's not mobile enough to withstand that kind of heat. And in all honesty, the Rams' defensive line may be top 5 in the league. It really looked good in that game. And I mean, did it really look good because it's really good, or did it really look good because the Houston Texans' offensive line is so terrible? So it's 1 week of film, you know what I mean? So we really don't know yet, and it was only against one team. And yeah, there's some teams that we're looking at right now. It's like, oh, we thought you were the class of your division, or and you just look like crap. So I don't. I like Stroud, but I don't want to count on him.
Okay, so Bob spoke his piece, kind of, maybe a little bit towards where Ty's at, not hating the player, but hating the game situation, right? Hate the team, and everything around them. I mean, they're kind of making that point. Slim, let me ask you this. CJ Stroud, I mean, is about as bad got, kind of what we figured. I mean, do you think that we could see a serious drop in ADP going into 2026? And do you think his value takes a huge hit? I mean, overall, once this season ends.
Right before week one kicked off, and I mean, I don't know. I'd like to hear Bob's opinion on this too. Just it is weird, like at ADP where it was drafted at and whatnot. But right before week one in one of my leagues, I flipped Stroud and I got Michael Penix in a Superflex league, straight up 1-for-1, nothing else included. And I mean, I traded away Stroud, and like it hurt some because like I do like the player, but I think Penix has a higher ceiling this year and maybe afterwards too if Houston doesn't figure it out. The only thing I would say is like, does Houston get better when Mixon comes back off the IR in 4 weeks? If that's the case, yeah, like I get the offensive line is bad, but and as much of a Nick Chubb fan as I am, and I'm sure Muss is too, and like the veteran RB club, all that, right? It, one of those things is like, yeah, Nick Chubb's had serious leg injuries, and he's getting older, and I know Mitson's old too, but it's just one of those things like could a better running back help out even the slightest? make it look a little better. I think a little bit, but I still think I'd just rather have, like as I said, I traded for Penix. I think I'd rather have that at this point. And like I wouldn't hate anybody that's out there shopping Stroud right now to try to get another player.
Yeah, especially in the contention structure, right? Like, I can't blame anybody for that either. But let me just say this and kind of say my last piece on this. Like, if you do have him and you're willing to hold and wait it out, I want to see intently what happens this offseason, right? Because, like, I need to start seeing daylight at the end of the tunnel. Like, Houston's going to have to start making some of these right decisions. And I just think that's very important, guys. Like, I always say it. It's like one of my favorite sayings on this whole network. Like, dynasty is a marathon, not a sprint. So, like, if you do have them and you don't want to force a trade, I can't blame you for that either. But all I'm saying is keep your eyes on the Houston Texans in the 2025-2026 offseason. What are they doing to correct the situation? Are they actually trying to do it the right way? Are they drafting, signing offensive linemen? Are they getting better assistant coaches in that building to help this offense continue to grow and take steps? Because it has to start going the opposite direction. Because as Bob said, he's not that mobile guy. He needs to be protected. And if you have him, that's when he's going to deliver his best games. Because look, we try to wait it out with some of these guys, Trevor Lawrence, different people, and it just blows up right in your face, right? Like, so you got to be really vigilant and watch what's going on this offseason. Got a quick question here from Nicholas here in the chat. What are your thoughts on Green Bay this year? Very tough Green Bay. Looks like a complete football team to me. Watching that game, they didn't mince words. They took care of Detroit pretty handily. I know Bob picked them to win the NFC North before they even traded for Micah Parsons. So Big Bob really feeling good about Green Bay. And Slim, Green Bay coming back to haunt you here
I
a
was
little
the
bit.
guy that took Green Bay to miss the playoffs after the Michael Parsons trade, even. So we'll see. It's week one. Detroit came out and had coordinator changes and whatnot. So, and we talked about that though, that it might be rough starting off for Detroit. So, we'll see. We'll see how they do tonight. I'm on Washington tonight, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes, but it's gonna be a good game.
Well, that's Big Bob. Big Bob,
Oh
you
yeah, I
taking the
picked them to win
pack?
before the season started. Like, and I mean, it was Lafleur is a good coach, and most of their team is a returning set of players. I mean, my God, they even gave Christian Watson an extension for a year. Like, what? That like, here you go, buddy, have some money, even though you probably will never play again for us. Like, we just got money to give. I don't know, like send some down to Big Culture's way. But like seriously, yeah, I think that they're a well put together team. You know, Jacobs runs the ball well. Love seems to be being able to pick apart a team. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I don't think I can pick them against Washington tonight. But I think that they will win the NFC North. So
Oh, so you're picking
yeah, I
Washington
mean
tonight, Bob.
Washington's they're a better team. Shh. Like they
Put the W up. There we go. Washington for the win.
Give me
is Green Bay at
Green
home? I
Bay,
forget.
baby. Give me
Green
Green
Bay
Bay.
is at home. Yeah.
That's right. Jordan Love's gonna have it cooking. Don't you worry. Me and him talked. I said, "You got this for me." I said, "I'm taking the Packers." He said, "Don't worry, TJ. You're safer in my arms than you are your mother's arms." I said, "Thanks, Jay Love. Go get it done." That's what we're talking about. But let's go over here now to the next discussion because this is kind of one here that I think from a running back standpoint this week is something that you really have to watch. I think this could be fireworks in this game for running backs. Jacksonville versus Cincinnati, right? I mean, like, let me just say this. Let's start with Jacksonville. I'm going to say right now, Travis Etienne, what a good game, kind of a bounce back for him. Now, it was a big run that really propelled that, but you got to show explosion, right? You got to show explosiveness. As Bob mentioned, Turd Bigsby, we put him in the toilet and flushed him, and he's gone from Jacksonville, right? So now we don't got to worry about Wiz and Mike trying to push that narrative. That's over with. That's done. So it's looking like it's going to be Travis Etienne. They got a couple rookies there right behind him. So let me ask you this, Bob. Do you expect Travis Etienne to have a good game here against this atrocious Cincinnati Bengals defense? Where are you at on this? Do you think that we could see lightning strike
I actually
twice here.
traded with my son today and acquired Travis Etienne. So if that tells you anything, I'm a little bit believing, especially since we flushed the turd. And I acquired Coleman and ATN for a bunch of pieces, and RJ Harvey, and it's a super flex league. And I parted with Milrow. He was very void of quarterbacks, and I'm like, well, you get the optimism of Milrow if he pops into the league. But I don't want to keep talking about my team. I do believe that ATN, he looks pretty good, and Cohen comes from that system. I think that they really shadow box this all off season, right? Like, we don't know what we're gonna do, blah 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 blah, and out here to smack this in the face with Travis Etienne, and I was like, okay, even on the not long runs, he looked pretty good. So it's I don't know. I mean, like last year was obviously not a great year for him, and other players looked better. But I do think that this looks pretty good. I mean, I think it's going to work, and I think if you got that, there's more passing options. So of course that opens up for the run game, just as it does the opposite when we were talking about it earlier. So yeah, I bought into ATM for sure.
Okay, so if you're a contender, Bob, you feel comfortable with a high 2026 second?
Given a high, yeah, I 26. I would give a 26 first right away for Travis Etienne. Sure, it's gone.
Bob said, come get it, Porch Pirates. He is definitely in on Travis Etienne. Now, Slim, let's talk about Travis Etienne because very surprising, as Bob said. I love that reference when he said they kind of shadow boxed us, right? But like we kind of seen through the smoke screen. Some people were really hoping for Tank. Some people were hoping for these rookies. But like I was more inclined of saying like I do think he's going to get the opportunity early to let it see what happens. And they felt real confident after that week 1 game, in Travis Etienne to go ahead and make this move. So are you in on Travis Etienne and as a contention build as far as maybe you get him for the right price and plug him in there? And do you think maybe we see lightning strike again here against Cincinnati because we know this defense isn't very good?
I mean, I don't mind Travis Etienne, but I'm not in love with him either because, I mean, we know I've been on the Bayshaw Tootin train instead. And I'm just going to toot my horn a little bit there that, now that Turd Bigsby's out the door, I believe I said somewhere on this show that Bayshaw Tootin would be the Jads RB1 by the, like the start next season. And I mean, I still think it could happen. Yeah, Etienne looked real good with one game where he didn't fumble the ball, so he actually held on to the ball. I want to see him stat games together where he doesn't fumble, because we know that's been a big issue of his, ball security. And I mean, I feel like the Jags made this move, without even like kind of thinking about that possibly. I'm glad they did, but at the same time, like I feel like it opens up the door to have, either one of these other running backs come in. I really do think it's Tootin, but I think that if you're buying Etienne at this point, you're hoping that he holds the job for the rest of the year and then signs a contract somewhere else. In my opinion, but yeah, I'm just That's the only rough part about it. Like I just feel like that you're hoping that he goes somewhere else after this year.
Well, I mean, but that's a bonus, right? To me, like if he does, like I mean, I'm just saying, like if Jacksonville feels good enough to bring him back, if they pay him, they
Right.
do intend on using him. But my thing is like if it's kind of a bonus if he lands in like an Andy Reid system, right? Like that's kind of a bonus at that point for a Travis Etienne. That fits. That works really well. But let me just say this. I would really like going after Travis Etienne for a couple reasons. Cost efficient, right? Like you're not paying, the parking lot, the house, the kids on trying to get a running back. It's very cost efficient move. I do think that Liam Cohen's system, as Bob mentioned, I do think that there's going to be a lot of usage there for a guy like him. I do like Bayshaw too. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get some opportunities. I'm not knocking you there, Slim. I like the player throughout the process. But I do think that this is Travis Etienne's backfield. He's got the green light until something happens, as you said. I mean, it could happen. But right now, I love it. But let me just say this, buying him, I don't want you guys to rely on him as a running back one. I just don't think that I trust that enough. I don't think that it's enough to put you over the top. You got to look in the mirror. Like, say you have a Saquon Barkley, you have a CMC, and you're like, man, I need some more impactful running back play. That's a move where you bring in Travis Etienne and that could be a very good winning move for you. So I like that call. But let's go on the other side of the ball because, we talked about Cincinnati last week struggling against the Cleveland Browns. Historically, it happened, and here it happened again. To Slim's credit, Cleveland kept it closer. I know that we picked Cincy, me and Bob. I believe Slim took Cleveland in the upset, but we did say that it was going to be very tight. I know that Slim and myself especially said just knowing this game is going to be very tight. A lot of disappointing fantasy assets here. But look, I'm firing up all cylinders on Chase Brown this week. I mean, that was kind of a tough run defense going up against Cleveland. Still scored a touchdown, still put up some okay numbers. But I think that there could be a ceiling here against this Jacksonville Jaguar run defense, just like what we've seen with Travis Etienne going up against the Cincinnati run defense. So I think that there's definitely a chance where he could score some bigger points this week. And I do expect, let me just ask, Cincinnati assets to rebound overall this week, Bob. Do you expect a rebound from a lot of these guys in the Bengals?
Yeah, they most certainly should. I mean, we're not really sure what Jacksonville is yet defensively. They've never really been a great team or whatever. They got a couple pair of bookend edge rushers that I like, but for the most part, I'm not like, oh, Jacksonville's defense, I'm really scared. But and what we've seen from Carolina doesn't give us anything really. I don't think it just shows us that Carolina wasn't very good. I mean, Hubbard had 80 something ish yards combined or whatever, and that wasn't a lot. And I don't think that they ran for 100 yards total, but you really don't do that when you're losing like Carolina was. So we don't know how good the rushing defense is for Jacksonville. So I would hope that Cincinnati takes a little bit of an uptick, but it may end up being the passing game and not necessarily the running game, because I think they might just want to go out and light the scoreboard up, because I can't imagine Jamar Chase not being pissed that he only ended up with 2 catches, 3 catches, whatever it was something stupid. And I mean, if I was him, I'd be in Joe Burrow's butt. Like, dude, like, we're the best passing attack in the league. Like, let's get this crap on the road.
So Bob right now trying to get Jamar Chase fired up this week. He's like, come on, man. I love that. Bob's really pushing the narrative there, getting Cincinnati. I love it. Just like the garage, Bob. They still haven't built that garage. They got to figure that out. I know you're after that team. You're after that team because they have assets you like, but they got to start getting it straightened out. I know what you're saying. But Slim, same question. Do you expect a rebound here from the Cincinnati offensive unit this week? Because, expectations where you're drafting some of these guys, it was a disappointment. I mean, you could look at the quarterback, receiving. Like I said, Chase Brown had an okay game, but, you're hoping for more from a high-powered offense.
I just realized, I think you said Cam Ward threw for 112 yards. Burrow had 113. I didn't realize it was that bad. Like, it was that, and I watched that game, and I mean, I didn't realize, Myles Garrett lived in that backfield, though. I'm in like a couple IDP leagues where Myles Garrett, one of the IDP leagues, he scored like 33 points or something crazy. But yeah, I do think Cincinnati bounces back. I think their receiving attack definitely bounces back. But I mean, I'm not gonna toot Chase Brown's horn yet, man. Like 21 carries, 2 yards a carry. Just, I don't know. I want to see more, and I know that Cleveland run defense was stout, but yeah, play the sound. That's all right. That wasn't a good stat line, It just wasn't a good stat line.
It was solid. It was solid, and it was against a good rush defense. That team always gives them trouble, Slim. So, like, if you could get by and give me what he's dealing, can only grow. So you look at this game. Whenever he's scoring 2 or 3 tutties, I'll be in the chat celebrating in the Dynasty DNA chat. But this time, I'll make sure. Slim. We're not taking an early victory lap like you did on JJ. Speaking of JJ, let's go over to it right now, because I know Bob is very excited to talk about his man up in Minnesota and his team that he likes, the culture waters of Minnesota. It is the state of Great Lakes. Bob loves the water in Minnesota. So, Bob, J.J. McCarthy going up against the Atlanta Falcons here. Simple question, first and foremost. Who has the better game for a second-year quarterback here, JJ or Michael Penix? That's the first question. And second question, do you think that JJ could only improve? Because I'll tell you, after what we've seen, a lot of shell shock, he kind of looked out of place there, and he really found himself. And I don't care, that's a big confidence grower, especially for a quarterback and a team to believe in their quarterback. So how do you feel about him continuing to grow? And who do you think has the better game here in week 2, Michael Penix or JJ McCarthy? The floor is yours.
So I don't know if London's gonna. I don't know if he's out or whatever, but I know he got banged up a little bit there in that game, and the statistic on Cal Pitts was fabulous. Like, oh, he averages 90 yards against Tampa Bay, but he averages like 28 against the rest of the league or 29 against the rest of the league, which I think's hilarious. So it's like, well, guess what? Pitts isn't playing against Tampa Bay this week, so he's probably going to go in the little doghouse and not come back out until he plays Tampa again this year. But Slim is just smoldering up there. It's hilarious. And JJ, yes, I think JJ can boost up. Now, I still think it's not that his ceiling is absolutely ridiculous. It's to the moon. His ceiling's to the moon. But I don't think that O'Connell wants them to just unleash. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't seem to be that type of coach. So I think that they're going to try and run the ball. They're going to try and play within that system. But it looks like there's a switch that can turn on in JJ that's just like, screw this, we're winning this damn game. So he could win the game and be statistically terrible. He could be the polar opposite of what everybody talks about with Justin Fields. Justin Fields puts up tons of fantasy points and doesn't win games. JJ McCarthy could be like the QB 15 every year and them having 14-2 records every year. Or I don't think that's 14-3 now, right? Or whatever. Because we've had a game since whenever.
Yeah,
I knew my math was off, but you know what I'm saying. So like, yeah, I know Slim's itching to do me a bet. Like JJ's going to suck. I know he's going to suck, and I got Bob in the thing. But the thing in a nutshell is I don't think that JJ could set the world on fire. Does that mean he will? I don't know. I don't think that their team wants them to, needs them to, or whatever. He fell into a system that wants to run the ball, play action pass. And I think that if it had to be done, JJ can do it. I just don't know that it has to be done and I'm not scared of Atlanta's defense. If they can put up enough points to keep Minnesota on the throttle a little bit, then maybe, but I don't know. It's like I still think the Atlanta's offense still seems limited to me.
So who scores more fantasy points?
I'll go ahead and say Penix. That way Slim can't be like, oh, Bob wants to bet fantasy points. No, it's more than likely to be Penix because they're going to have to try and catch up and he'll have to try and throw.
Okay. So Slim, Bob's. So you're picking Minnesota to win the game.
Yeah. Minnesota's going to win the game.
Okay, so Bob is saying JJ is going to deliver another victory for the Vikings. And, I like the way you laid that out, Bob, because I think that is JJ McCarthy's path to success, especially for fantasy, too. Do enough win games. We talk about it. NFL things and fantasy things go hand in hand. I know some people don't want to look at it that way, but it's the truth. If these winning games, Minnesota ain't going to make no changes. And that's what you have to look at, right? So I think that the way you laid that out, quarterback 15 winning games, I think that could be him for a long while because you're right. It seems like there is a switch that he can flip. And, I mean, we've seen it. He looked like a deer in headlights, and he really took off. But, Slim, coming over here to you, McCarthy Magic in week 1 pulled it out for the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm just going to ask you right now, was it McCarthy Magic, or do you think the Bears just bared?
That's a double-edged word.
I really do think the Bears bared. Like at that point, why not kick it? Why not kick it through the end zone? You know what I mean? Why give them a chance to return? Like that is the, and it's once again, it's just like last year Thanksgiving game where they messed up clock management. It's like they never learned. It's like I play enough Madden, I could be a better head coach. I know to kick it through the end
now that's Ben Johnson. That's the savior. Everybody said Ben Johnson's the savior.
Apparently, I was wrong on that because apparently he doesn't know how to manage the clock. You know, you kick it through the end zone, so there's no time left, so you don't run it out. So that way you get a play that is ran before the 2 minute warning. So then you would have had more time. But
Well,
that's all right.
so Slim,
Yep.
so let me say this. Let me say this though. Okay. Do you think though he told the kicker to kick it through the end zone and he just didn't get enough leg on it? I mean, that's possible too, though. I mean, like you can't push Ben under the bus totally. I mean, come on now. I mean, maybe the kicker botched it.
I don't. I mean, it went what 8 yards into the end zone or whatever it was. Like, I don't. Maybe he
Yeah.
did, but I don't know, man. It seemed weird. Yeah, I really think the Bears gave the game away, and I think I said it in the chat too. What people really didn't talk about was the number of penalty yards the Bears had. Like the Bears had a lot of. It was
Yep.
what 120 something, 130 something. Like they gave up a lot. They had a lot of penalty yards in that game, so they didn't play a clean game.
Yep.
To JJ's credit, and I will give credit where it's due, he went out there, he led a couple game-winning drives, and I mean, he looked good on them drives. Were they aided by a couple penalties here and there? Possibly, but that's how it goes sometimes. You get the good calls, and you got to take advantage of it. So yeah, as far as Bob picking, Penix over McCarthy here, yeah, he wants to do that because I believe Caleb Williams finished higher in fantasy rankings than McCarthy did for week one.
JJ won the game. It's what I said.
Well, we play fantasy football too, Bob. So I mean, QB9 is Williams right now, I believe, or whatever. So, but that's all right. That's all right.
How long will he last if he doesn't win?
But JJ wasn't far away though. JJ wasn't far away though, Slim. So let me ask you, okay? So you think the Bears bared, and that's a fair point, right? I mean, like Bob said, I put you in a box there. I had to make you pick something there. But let me just ask you this now. Okay, Michael Penix. You believe Michael Penix is going to outplay J.J. McCarthy in this game?
Yeah.
Would you be surprised if J.J. outplays him?
Based off of everything that I've seen in week one, yeah, I would. I mean, Penix came out and he looked really good. Okay. And, McCarthy looked good for 8 minutes at the end of the game. I mean, outside of that, he, and to quote you, he looked like a deer in headlights. And, I mean, yeah, he flipped that switch and it was nice to see, but it's like he's got to have that mentality all game. Penix had that mentality. He had that killer mentality. He threw for, I think it was almost 300 yards against Tampa Bay. And, yeah, I think Penix I would take Penix over McCarthy in that game.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys because you're right. I mean, Penix looked more polished, but we got to remember, right? Like, Penix played in more of a throw-happy system in college, and he played a lot more college football than what J.J. McCarthy has. So right now, it's just based off of our knowledge of the players that, he's kind of a step ahead. But as far as the curve goes, but Bob's absolutely right. I mean, like, I love the way he laid that out. If he is the guy that's like quarterback 15 every year and he's winning games for Minnesota, wins the division, keeps Justin Jefferson happy, keeps some of these guys happy, then it's like, man, this guy could be around a long time. It could just be that solid quarterback too, like maybe that Jared Goffy type guy, maybe a guy like that you could have in your team and be really happy with. So that's a great point. But the last thing we got to talk about, and we saved the best for last, the Chicago Bears playing the Detroit Lions in Detroit, both teams coming off losses. Let's just start on Detroit's side of the ball very quickly, gentlemen, because, I know where you're going to go on some of this other stuff with the Bears, but Detroit, we talked about them. Like, we're still believers in Dan Campbell. We're still believers in this roster and this team, but we kind of figured this could be a rocky road for them. I mean, last year they had it pretty easy. You lose both coordinators, and I don't care. That is a tough thing to deal with for any team, right? You lose both coordinators. There's a lot of turnover there. And, they go into Green Bay. Green Bay's motivated. They're feeling good. They get Parsons. They're a team that's on the uprise. We talk about it. And they kind of get shellacked, right? So, Bob, let's just talk about Detroit because some of these fantasy assets as well, very underwhelming. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, take your choice, right? Jared Goff to a degree. Do you think we see more of a rebound from Detroit in week 2 against a team like Chicago? Because let's just be honest, though. Chicago's defense did play Minnesota tough through 3.5 quarters, and then the wheels come off. But, I mean, this defense is just not your run-of-the-mill unit. They can play well. They're a little bit more formidable. You're not bottom-of-the-barrel defense like Cincinnati or Miami. Like, these guys can play a little bit. Do you think Detroit rebounds, and do you think some of these assets play better in week 2?
I think Slim's going to be glad that he drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round in that draft after this game. So if that tells you anything, I believe that Detroit rebounds pretty heavily. The Bears are going to bear. And yes, we just we just talked about JJ McCarthy, but to be honest, like the Bears played really good the first 3 quarters of this game, right? The defense did, but they played very good the first 3 quarters of this game against a QB that had, to Slim's argument, hadn't thrown an NFL pass yet, was on it, and it was in his first game in the NFL, was playing on the biggest stage of his career ever against a home rival or against a rivalry on the road. So there's a lot that JJ had to do to even and of course, the defense for Chicago looks stout until they didn't. And the Chicago Bears had 127 yards on 12 penalties in a game, and I don't see that's going to get fixed. Ben Johnson can't go out and block for Caleb Williams. So I think Detroit they needed time. Slim still picked them to win a division. They got to win some games somewhere, right? They done lost last week. They're going to have to win this week. If they want to, they can't go 0-2 in the division to start out with if they're going to be competitive at all. And I think Dan Campbell will be like, I don't care whose ankles get bit, but y'all better go out there and bite somebody's ankles and kneecaps.
So you're predicted Jahmyr Gibbs is the
yeah,
highest
it's got to be a
scorer in this
bounce
game.
back, right? I think Jahmyr Gibbs gets a lot of dump off passes that go for long distances and a couple scores maybe.
Okay, so Bob's saying Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a good day. Slim, do you think that the Lions' offense is going to rebound, and do you think that Gibbs could be that guy this
I sure
week?
hope so for my Gibbs shares. That's for sure. Looked a little rough in week 1, but I mean, I was just looking at like a lot of the running backs had really rough week 1. Like not averaging a lot of yards and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I do think the Lions can bounce back. Getting the coordinator change obviously really hurt and everything, and I think they do need a bounce back, and I mean I think Dan Campbell, if there's a head coach out there that can do it, I'm pretty sure he's the head coach that can do it. So yeah, I mean I would like to see Gibbs definitely bounce back. He's got to have a better game than what he had last week, that's for sure, and I know that's what scared a lot of people. On the Discord and everything tonight too about, hey, Green Bay's run defense is legit, and I've heard all about that. So we'll have to see tonight how Green Bay does as well.
You're right, and I'm on board with you guys, but I'm going to tell you right now though, expect a bigger game from Amon-Ra St. Brown too. Very, very rarely do you see him take 2 games where it's just in the toilet, right? He's about as consistent can be. He's got the C inconsistency. It's just not Captain C inconsistency, and I love that guy. But I do think Gibbs is going to be bouncing back as well. And you're right. I mean, this could be maybe, and I'm not going to overly panic either if by the first half they're not doing much, because it is a war of attrition, kind of like what we see with Minnesota. You can't get too panicky too quick. I do expect them to play better, and I do expect them to win this game. I do. I do think that Detroit will win this game because, as Bob said, you can't go down 2 in the division, and that would be horrendous for a team like Detroit. And let me say this, though. Chicago Bears, I will open this one up, and I'm going to turn it over to you both. Caleb Williams, I mean, you could say what you want. First drive, and, I believe it was Teixeira or Mike that said this on the From Whistle to Whistle show. It was one of the two. It was almost like those plays, like they were waiting all year to run those first 7 or 8 plays, and they just looked great. I mean, they went right down the field, utilized his mobility, and it's like everything that went on from there, it just got worse. And the accuracy issues was the biggest thing, right? And, I said this on a couple of the shows crediting Bob that we talked about this. The offensive line is still not great there, and that is a problem, right? I mean, you got to be able to stay calm in the pocket if you're going to look down the field. and he missed guys. I mean, DJ Moore for a touchdown. Roma Dunze was open on a post. Never seen him, right? Like, he's almost getting that tunnel vision, and that is scary for me for a quarterback. I will say that. Now, I still believe that it's going to get better. I mean, it might take some time, but I did not like what I seen. It's got to be cleaned up, and things have really got to be addressed. And I will give Bob credit on one thing more than anything. He called the Darnell Wright thing. He is he's not good. I mean, he's not as bad as Broderick Jones, though, Bob. Remember I talked to you about that with the Steelers. I think he gave up 4 sacks of Aaron Rodgers there over the weekend, so it was pretty rough. But, yeah, it is very bad with Darnell Wright. So I will say this. If you have some of these Bears assets, I am a little bit nervous. Now, I'm not going to sit here and just trade him away and just jump off the ship entirely. I'm still going to be there, but I'm going to tell you right now, he's got to clean these accuracy issues up because that was the biggest thing I seen. Outside of the penalties, you guys brought that up. That was a nightmare, but I mean, man, there was opportunities there. And, what did he finish? Quarterback 9, I think Caleb did this week. If he would have taken advantage of the opportunities that were there, he would have had a top 5 finish. I mean, no doubt about it, because there were touchdowns on the table. And I do expect Detroit to win this game. But, Slim, I'll come over here to you first. Worry level on this offense after what we've seen in week 1. And do you think that, okay, maybe Detroit will win the game, but do you think that the Bears can make a better showing overall this week?
I mean, I think they can. It's just Caleb Williams. He's just got to calm down. He kind of gets happy feet back there in the pocket sometimes, I feel like. And I feel like that hurts the accuracy a lot. He locks in tunnel vision on certain guys, and then he just seems like he kind of bounces around a little much for my liking. I'm not sure what he's doing back there, but he's just got to calm down. He's got to set his feet right, and he's got to survey the field better. And I almost feel like I'm evaluating a rookie at this point, and he's not a rookie at this point. So I'm not sure. I'm not pulling the plug yet, but it's getting closer and closer to the point of listen, this whole team is built around success for you. And let me tell you, and Bears fans probably don't want to hear it, but if Justin Fields would have been there, I think the Bears would have won that game easily against Minnesota. Because I've just seen the progression of Justin Fields and how that's went. I just don't think that Caleb was on the same pedestal at that point. He's got to calm down, and he's got to. I don't know if it's film watching or what, but he's just got to be better.
So I will agree with a lot of what you said, Slim, but I will say this. Minnesota was stopping the run. One thing the Steelers failed to do. I'm going to have you guys on next week whenever they can't run the ball for 10 yards a clip, and he gets 8 points, and I'll be on here. So I'm just saying right now, you're saying he took this big step. Dude, we've seen this with Justin Fields before. He's sporadic. That's what kind of player he is. If I see it all season, then I will say he took a step. Until then, we'll see. But, Bob, I'm going to come over here to you. I'm going to let you close the show out. Slim, put in your earplugs because this is what Bob's waited for. And I'm sure if Teixeira is going to be listening, this will be his favorite part of the episode. This Caleb Williams Bears-led offense, Bob, as we talked about, me and Slim both said it. The accuracy issues were the biggest problem outside of the fact that the line did keep him under duress, right? I mean, it was not a clean pocket a lot of the times, but missing guys downfield, missing opportunities. Do you think it's going to get worse, or do you think it gets better? I mean, do you think that it's about the same? Where are you at on this for week 2?
So I think it gets worse. I'm not nearly as positive on Caleb Williams as what Slim is. I think that Aiden Hutchinson cannot have only one QB hit in this game again. That's not going to happen again. That offensive line is going to be an elixir for the Detroit defensive line. And Brian Branch is probably going to pick Caleb Williams off at least once. And that Kirby Joseph is out there still too. The defense for Detroit will come together and put Caleb in a shackle. And it's funny because Slim's talking about it. I'm like, yeah, so he's doing the exact same thing he did in college. He's trying to scramble around. He's trying to make things happen. And what happens? The NFL is way faster, so he's dealing with way more pressure, and no one's down there in the out there getting open. for him to throw the ball to. And even when they are open, he's scrambling for his life because he doesn't read the ball well. He's just not mature enough. And I hope, and I'm glad Angel Reese got him hooked up with his nail tech or whatever and all that stuff like that. And it's to start thinking about football. I seen a tweet that the guy actually, where I even seen that up, the guy was like, if there's any one thing I don't want to hear about, it's that my franchise QB's getting Angel Reese's nail advice or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that would be something I would not want to hear either. And just to defend Justin Fields just a little bit, it's like, yeah, he was dog water in Chicago where the team sucked. So like we're still Caleb's dealing with the Fields hangover. They weren't ready for Fields when they got Fields. They weren't ready for Caleb when they got Caleb. These guys cannot save a franchise that the anchor's already pulling the whole boat down. The Chicago's not they need to get they need to legitimately have a not an Aaron Rodgers type. I'm trying to think of a guy. Like a Rich Gannon type. They need a guy, or not Gannon, Dilfer. Let's go with Dilfer. Somebody that you really don't even want to worry about throwing the ball, that can just slam the ball into the running back's guts. And that's what you need to do. You need to build the offensive lineup and run the ball constantly. Because until they got a dome, it doesn't matter. Caleb Williams is going to suck until they have a dome. When's that going to come? I don't know. But
And I've always agreed with you on that point, Bob, just for the basic sentiment of the teams that have success in that division, what are they doing, right? I mean, we're seeing it right now. Like, you got to know what division you play in. I mean, we talk about culture, build the culture the way that the rest of these guys like to play ball. And, it's just like the old saying goes, beat them at their own game, right? I think that I've always agreed with you on that point. But interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Week 2, we got a lot of great stuff happening, but we do have one last question here in the chat from a fan. Dave Flynn asks, who would you start at a flex? George Pickens, Austin Eckler, Trey Benson, or Jerry Jeudy, or Khalil Shakir? Oh, he's got lots of options there. Slim, I'm going to go over one more time. George Pickens, Austin Eckler, Trey Benson, Jerry Jeudy, or Khalil Shakir in a flex. Who are you
It's got to be
starting?
George Pickens for me. I mean, I'm still just believing in that Dallas team. I'm not wanting to start Eckler in any sort of flex. I don't like to start my Thursday night guys in a flex spot. Jeudy is probably the only other name on that list that I lean toward, and it's because like you got to look at the game script. I think Cleveland is like 12.5-point underdogs against Baltimore. They're gonna have to throw the ball a lot. Jerry Jeudy can definitely get his. I think I would lean Pickens and then Jeudy, like if I'm gonna go with, but I think I'll go with Pickens.
Okay, Bob, who are you taking here out of this group in a flex? George Pickens, Austin Eckler, Trey Benson, Jerry Jeudy, or Khalil Shakir?
I don't want to lead anybody the wrong way, but like I'm looking at the schedule and I legitimately feel like Slim's right. I think Pickens may be, but they may end up being ahead because it's the Giants. And like if that's the case, then I mean, not that I would say they're going to count on Javonte Williams. The Browns playing the Ravens, man, Flacco might not complete 5 passes in that game. Who even knows? Like, and Shakir against the Jets is interesting. Because they're playing on, they're playing in New York, number 1, and then number 2, like I would imagine Sauce will be the guy guarding Coleman, so Shakir should kind of be open. I mean, if you really believe that the Cardinals will stomp the Panthers, maybe Benson gets a lot of. I mean, like I'm just trying to pick out positives for every guy, but I think I'm with Slim, and I may lean Pickens, if not Shakir, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with the Pickens stuff. I think he's my first choice, but let me say this. Khalil Shakir is a very close second going up against this Jets secondary. I got to witness it, over the weekend. The Steelers have a very lackluster passing attack, and some of these guys were able to carve them up pretty good. So I don't know. Like, I will say this to you, Dave. I think this is the way I'd approach it. This is just me personally. If I needed a ceiling play, I would play Pickens. Like, say you go up against somebody here on Thursday Night Football and you're down a bunch of points, I have no problem going Pickens. if I have a guy on Thursday Night Football that does really well and I get out to a lead, I might lean Khalil Shakir here, right? So, but I do agree with Slim. I do think Dallas's offense is going to bounce back, especially this passing offense. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Dak, but Dak moved the ball very well. It just so happened Javonte Williams was there to fall in from the 1 yard line because no one could score whenever they caught the ball short of the goal line. So that's the only thing I will say. So, but I like both of those plays. Them will be my two choices. A lot of interesting stuff. But Slim, we're going to ask you, Hutchinson Huddle, are you going live tonight or are you doing a show Saturday for Sunday?
I'm going to be going on Saturday. I adjusted some work schedules around, so I should be live Saturday night. I'm going to build a couple DFS lineups, and then we're going to go over the whole Sunday slate as well on the Hutchinson Huddle. We're going to shoot for around 8 Central, so that'll be 9 EST, and figure out the rest of the time zones because I'm horrible at time zones after that. But those are the 2 time zones that I know because those are the 2 that I've lived in. So there we go. Yeah, but about 8 Central, I plan to go live. It'll probably be about an hour or so. I'll be live over here. I've got verification now that I'm live to go on TikTok as well. So I got that all straightened away. So we can go live on TikTok. We'll be live on the YouTube. We'll be live on the X. So, yeah, hop in with all your questions. I'll probably even do some sit fantasy advice if it's needed, and answer some fantasy questions also. So, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We'll have the Hutchinson Huddle on Saturday.
Yep, and we will be together also for the Dynasty DNA morning show Sunday morning, guys. I'll tell you what, if you weren't in there last week, you didn't check it out, you got to get over there in the Discord. We did very well as far as start-sit options went for people and hit on that awesome touchdown wide receiver parlay. If you guys haven't joined the Discord and you want to join, it's absolutely free. What a tool to help you win your fantasy leagues. If you want to join, go over to our Twitter page at DynastyDNA_. At the top of the page, there's a link in the description. You click on that link, you can join for free. We'd love to have you. Come join the Dynasty DNA family. Check out the Dynasty DNA morning shows and ask your questions to all of us personally over there 24/7. We're all available all the time at the Dynasty DNA Discord channel. Let me say this, the support has been amazing. If you guys are listening on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, any of the big podcasting platforms and you haven't yet, please follow and 5-star the show. It greatly helps, and we so appreciate that. Also, again, make sure to check out Slim live Saturday night around 9 p.m. Eastern time. Going to give you some great DFS advice and start-sit fantasy options. He's there. You guys can talk to him. It's going to be a blast. I might pop in the chat and ask a couple questions myself. A couple questions, Slim, like one of them prosecutors at the courthouse. I'll be like, okay, Slim. So what Penn State player do you think is going to go off in the NFL in week 2? I'll hit you with something like that. But let me just say this. If you guys want to subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to Dynasty DNA on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at DynastyDNA_. I know I speak for Big Bob and Slim both when I say, hope you guys have a great rest of your week ahead of you. Good luck in your fantasy matchups heading into week 2. And we will see you all on the next episode of the